Welcome, everyone. It's Matthew David, the Minister of Allowing. So if you're here, let's welcome yourself. Let me know. I want to share some insights with you today. I'm going to talk about the habits of prosperity, and I'm going to break down some things that you may not have seen before. So I've done a lot of videos on tithing because tithing is the capstone of my entire ministry. Welcome, Kelly. And there's a reason why. Welcome, Sergio. And Sabrina's here, so she'll welcome you as I talk. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
So I want to show you this first. That's my wisdom card set. And I pulled this card today before we begin. The life you live in his kingdom begins where your will ends. Fools keep doing what doesn't work. Are you really set on this path? You'll like this. Welcome, Dawn. You're going to see how being set on your path and all this stuff means something. So when I was bedridden and bankrupt with Lyme disease, okay, these are the habits that I adopted with the tools of just the ABC rate process that got me out of that condition, okay? And it took me some repetition and timing to get this straight. But when I started tithing, I was bankrupt. And within a short period of time, that changed, not because of how great I am, because I really was not great, and I don't profess to be great. But what I did right was I sowed honor up, according to Malachi 3, verse 10 through 12, and favor flows down. It's a formula. When you honor somebody in their house, typically they bless you. Well, you're in the house of God, so you're a house guest. This is the only part of the Bible that says, "Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts." See, you're being hosted by God. You're a house guest. Number 2 is non-judgment. So that's safe touch, ho'oponopono. Now here, Romans 12:2, be not conformed to this world. When you judge things, you become conformed to the world. You lose power through centrifugal force by getting the outer as the primary cause, and you start to disrupt your process and your thinking. And your thinking is where you get in conflict with God, because if you don't have the thoughts of God, you have the thoughts of men, and then you become in conflict. Here's the big idea for today. I'm going to really hone in on this. By the way, 321, MatthewDavidHurtado.com. You're new to it. I got lengthy discussions on all of these things. But for today, we're going to talk about what is the fastest path to my joy in this moment. Here's something. So in Nehemiah 8, verse 10, it says, "Neither be ye sorry," in the beginning of that. Now, sorry implies that you are in a state of judgment because you have set up two belief systems. There's good and evil, okay? That's what judgment is. And what you do is you take on victim and villain story memes in your life. Victim and villain. You're either one of the two. That's how judgment plays out. Now that means distressed and poor in etymology. You become poor, all right? So what I started to do, and I tell you the story, is following what is the fastest path to my joy. Now back when I was bedridden and bankrupt, I didn't have anything. So the fastest path to my joy was to get out of bed for the day for even like an hour or two, because I was mostly laying down horizontal all day. So I'd get out of bed and I'd go get a cup of coffee. That was my joy. And then I'd go on Facebook, because back then Facebook was cool. It was 2009. That was like the thing. And so I would go to that and I'd say, okay, what's the fastest path to my joy now? I want to play guitar. So I'd play guitar 3 to 5 hours a day, because it's all I physically could do that wasn't hurting me. And people around me would start to say, well, you're kind of a loser because you're doing nothing but Facebook and playing guitar. You're not really trying. And see, they didn't understand how bad Lyme disease affected the body and the mind, etc. So I was following this advice regardless of what they said. Now, that's what it means when I say, what is the fastest path to your joy in this moment, regardless of the fallout? See, the fallout was all of the outer, all of the characters in the play, all right? They were telling me, you should do this, you should do that, you should follow our advice, you should get a job, this, right? I'm going to show you more about that, but stay with me. Instead, what I did is I said, what is the fastest path to my joy in this moment? Every segment of my day. It's going to all make sense to you soon. And I did that. Now, what happened? I'll tell you more. You know the story. You can read my book aloud for free and find that out. Here, check this out. Joy is the same meaning as rejoice. All right? Now, get this. The strength of the Lord. Joy is the strength of the Lord. The word strength comes from the original pi of strength, which means narrow. Remember in the Bible where it says, Matthew 7:14, because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, but very few find it? You see, this is the secret. Following the fastest path to your joy is the narrow gate that leads you into life more abundantly. And very few find it because they're trapped in their 5 physical senses, listening to everyone and everything outside of them tell them what to do instead of following their own guidance. Big idea. Now, look at Matthew 8, verse 13. Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. So we're looking at cause and consequence here. Now, remember in day 3 we talked about the Lord's Prayer, and we broke it down into a logic patch because it said, for thine, God, is the kingdom, which means a ruler, a rule of law, the power, which means the only cause, and the glory, which means rejoice forever. Do you see that? So that is right there. If I believe in God, which is good, eternal, and his rule of law, and it is the only cause of activity, then I rejoice. I want you to turn it around, because here is the cause and consequence and why you follow the fastest path to your joy in every moment. If I rejoice, if I follow my joy, and it is the cause, and God's rule of law, his word will manifest, then I believe in God. You see, only do you believe in God if you are following the fastest path to your joy in every moment. You can't lie to yourself because it's cause and consequence. There's no getting around it. It's a law. It's a principle. So let's go on and let me show you the big idea for the day.
That's like magic.
All right. So
Who is back there writing all that?
okay. So you need to make a daily action list.
Sorry.
Okay? And here's the reason why.
Look at that smile.
What gets measured gets improved. Okay, if you want to improve your life, start measuring your life. Okay? Now, joy, for definition purposes, I wrote a definition for you. It's present moment fulfillment of the desired state of being. Okay? Now, I put in here a negative for want or lack. Okay? All of your suffering is ignorance of God, and it all stems from want, which means lack. Wanting of safety, approval, or control primarily, but want for definition purposes means displeasure and avoidance of what is for some other intended past or future moment. Now here's how most people live their day because they've been conditioned this way. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to make a chart of every action you take throughout the day. Remember, I asked what is the fastest path to my joy in this moment before I took any new activity. Okay, before any new segment of my day, I qualified it with that perfection. And that's what led me into my dream life. Now get this, it's because my dream life came first. Watch. Most people do this. Make a chart of their day, plus and minus. In other words, joy-filled or they're wanting for some other experience. So their day looks like this. Wake up to the alarm and rush to work. Probably rushing in rush hour traffic. Negative, they don't like that. Then they complete tasks at work. They don't even like their job. So they're doing that. Well, they get a lunch workout in. They feel really good for that 15 minutes. Then they come back to work. Nah, they don't like that. It's not the fastest path to their joy. And then they rush hour drive home. Okay, now they come home, they eat dinner, watch TV. Okay, they like that. Then they clean the house and they pay the bills and do things, etc., etc. That's not really joy either. But then they read to go to sleep. Well, what you can see here is that they're living under the burden of this world because the outer is dictating to them through the opinions of men every single thing they should do. They become adulterated and stupid. Now, here's the deal. Fiction narrative. They are living under the idea that if I persist with this evil, which means lack of joy, it will one day get me to a place of joy. Cause and consequence. If you are putting lack into the present moment, remember, karma is action, cellular memory, reaction, the Eastern way of looking at it, right? What you put in is what you get out. What you sow is what you reap. Simple. If you're sowing lack and want, you're going to get nothing but lack and want. You're not going to get there from there. Now, what I did, and this is what I learned when I had no other option, is I learned that if I create my perfect day and I repeat it, it becomes my perfect life. Now, what was I learning while I was playing guitar? And I was doing all these things. I was learning how to create my perfect day. And guess what? It did become my perfect life. How? Who knows? Who, what, when, where, why, and how is not your job. That's the 6 degrees of separation through your inner, middle, and outer kingdom. That's the fall of man. That's not your job. That's God's job. Your job is to be obedient to God by following His commandments, to be in joy and rejoice in every moment. So, here's what my day looks like today. Wake up meditating, joy. Make delicious food, joy. Morning workout or morning work on my biz, joy. Workout number 1, joy. More work on my biz, joy. Then I run some errands, I do some stuff, maybe some paperwork's got to get done. A little bit of stuff comes in that I'm not so excited about, but that's balance, right? But then, workout number 2 with the kids, joy. Family dinner, joy. God time, joy. Night meditate, joy. And you see, the majority of days, not every day, but the majority of days in my life start to look like this. And what am I doing? I'm putting joy into the present moment more often than I'm putting distress or poverty, which means, see, poor, we talked about that, okay? Putting in distress is poor. See, if you put in these prosperous action steps, you have a prosperous life. Now, when you're tithing and when you're doing non-judgment, you're coming under a divine law. God says, prove me now herewith, say the Lord of hosts, if I will not pour you out a blessing, so much so that you have not enough room to receive it. That's the whole capstone that holds this thing together. Because I tithe, I can surrender the burdens of this world to God, and I know that my steps are ordered. So, talking about renewing your mind, it's not just about what you think and what you think and what you think. It's about how you set up your life and how you act on those plans. So that's the lesson for today. Take action on it. And you got a question?
I want to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What would you say to somebody who says, well, the fastest path to my joy is, say there's a 1-year goal. Mm-hmm. But to get to that 1-year goal, they need to make daily sacrifices that aren't joyful. Like, they don't really want to do the daily sacrifices, but to get to that 1-year goal, this 1-year goal would require the daily sacrifices.
Be specific about it. What is the 1-year goal?
Like, say they want to become a real estate agent.
Uh-huh. Why?
And they need to study
Okay, so here's what you need to do. If your 1-year or 5-year goal involves you being in distress to get there, I want you to take the goal and ask 5 times why it's important to you. Get this. Let's just go. Why would you want to be a real estate agent? Just shoot me an example.
Freedom.
Okay. Why would you want freedom?
To create my life the way I want it.
Why do you want to create the life the way you want it?
Joy.
See, we got there in 4 steps. You see, joy is the fulfillment of the satisfaction. Now get this. If you think that somehow taking all these action steps to get to a certain outcome is going to eventually lead you to something other than what you're putting into it, it doesn't work that way.
But say somebody has a job that's on the negative list, but by going to that job, they are certain and they know that by putting in a year's worth, they're going to be promoted. So you're saying ask those questions.
They can't guarantee that.
Well, I'm just saying, say hypothetically somebody has a situation where they know they've got to put in the negative to get to the positive. You're suggesting that when they're interpreting it as negative to see it as positive?
If you're forced to do something that you see as negative, then you need to change your perspective on it and turn it into a game, or do something that you find joy in doing it with.
Okay.
Now, an example is when I was going to be an electrician in my former life, right? I kept thinking that same thought. When I become a journeyman, then I can become part owner of a company, and then I can be, the guy that sits in the trailer all day and doesn't do anything and makes $80 an hour. I thought that was eventually going to get me there. But I hated going to work every single day. Now, what started to change with that was that I met a guy named John who came along the job site, and we restructured the way we did things, and it became very enjoyable. So what he did is he figured out I liked to bodybuild. And he was a very smart guy. So he figured out that bodybuilders work hard in spurts and then they rest for a long time. So he made a game out of it. And he said, listen, okay, he said, here's what we're going to do. And he called me Pedro. He used to make fun of me because my last name is Hurtado. But he called me Pedro. He said, listen, Pedro, we're gonna bust our balls for 2 hours this morning. We're going to get 6 hours of work done in 2 hours. We're going to go fast, and you're going to sweat. He goes, but then we're going to go sit at the coffee shop for 3 hours. And I said, deal. So what we did is we would bust it, and we would go hard for 2 hours. Then we'd go sit at the coffee shop for 3 hours, and I'd binge on bagels and coffee, and we'd talk. And
donuts.
Just
and donuts.
So what we did was we turned it to make it more enjoyable according to something that already brought me joy.
So what I hear you saying is that for those who are watching this and they make out their list of what they're doing in the day and they have more negative than positive, but maybe in their mind they know I need to do these negative things in order to get, I'm not enjoying these negative things, but I know by doing these negative I'm perceiving them as negative. Do they just need to change their perspective about it so they don't see it as negative?
Here's the deal. You're living on a linear time framework if you think that way. Now, example is this.
I'm thinking there might be some people who are thinking that way.
Listen to me. That's right, because they're thinking wrong. We live in a world of infinite parallel realities, okay? There are really multiple versions of you throughout all time and space because we live in an eternal now space. And Christ said, my Father has many mansions, right? Quantum physics proves that there are multiple realities now. Infinite worlds appear and reappear in the vast expanse of my consciousness like motes of dust dancing in a beam of light. Vedic scripture. So here's the deal. Back when I thought that my trajectory had to be from point A to point B, and it was the only path I could see to success, and then I was taken off that path because of Lyme disease, okay? See, I thought that I was going to manage health clubs and I was going to be in fitness forever. And I love fitness. I really do. I absolutely love fitness. But then I was put down for almost 2 years with Lyme disease where I couldn't do that at all. And so what happened was out of that, I started to follow the fastest path to my joy from that experience, and I created an even better life for myself. So the idea here is that even though you think, see, right here, look at this. Fools keep doing what doesn't work. Are you really set on this path? You see how it comes full circle? It's right there. See, I thought my highest excitement in life was to be a fitness person forever. I loved fitness since I was a little kid. However, God wanted me to study and learn the ways of God, and that just happens to be where I'm at, okay? And I learned sales and marketing and so many other skills along the way that are serving me much more than just pumping iron all day. So God had better plans for me, but how I discovered those plans was I got in alignment with the strength of the Lord by following the fastest path to my joy in every moment. See, here's the big misconception. Your mind thinks that if you ditch your current plans to follow the fastest path to your joy, then somehow you could incur a loss. That's what your mind tells you. That's what regardless of the fallout means. See, your mind is lying to you. Lean not on your own understanding, but on wisdom. Do you see?
Yeah, I do.
And so what you think about that real estate agent thing, that you see, that could be, wow, you know, this is going to be the thing, and I'm going to sacrifice, and I'm going to hump and bust and do it, right? You know how many people did that kind of life that I watched, and they are living in that same reality today, even though they achieved their goal. So they are still struggling within that goal because they put struggle as their primary cause of action. And so the consequence was a life of struggle they built for themselves.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, I got one comment, Stephanie. Well, if there's other comments, people, awesome teaching. That's great. I love it. And then Stephanie says, I agree about working. I've switched it in my mind, giving gratitude for the things that I get to do. My mindset changed. Same job, different mindset has changed it. So following your bliss. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for being here. If you jumped on in the middle, I'd highly recommend once this uploads and refreshes to watch it from the beginning, and post any questions that you have down below in the comments, as I'm sure Matthew or myself will be answering. So any closing message real quick, Matthew?
Just, it takes courage to follow the fastest path to your joy in every moment. It takes a brave heart, okay? But here's the deal. It implies that you trust God. And whenever you put all of your trust in God, you're certain to succeed. Okay?
Awesome. Blessings are wished upon you. All right. Bye, everybody.